Hey crafty people! Welcome back to my channel, and in case you're new here, I'm Sarah, also known as Craft Nerd because I'm a nerd who loves to craft. I do paper crafting, card making, junk journaling, and mixed media art. Let's get crafting! Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be finishing up this project, which you're getting a sneak peek of what the finished project looks like, and there'll be a link in the description box down below to part 1 where I mostly work on putting together Santa, and in this video we'll finish assembling it. I figured let's get the base done, and I also have I think it's Fireside is the name of this die, and I got that. And I die cut out the fireplace out of, this is a wood grain cardstock, and so we need to ink that and get the rest of the pieces for this and assemble that. And so yeah, there's a lot to do yet. And for putting this together, because I think I mentioned earlier, this frame was a rectangular wreath in my house, and I put decorations on the outside of the frame, so I got rid of all the inside pieces. So for our piece, I've got a piece of black foam core, and then I just covered it with a piece of scratch white paper because I was afraid the black might show through. So let's start with our wallpaper, and I think what I'm going to do is just cut these two guys in half. So they are 5 3/4. So let's see, 2 1/2 gets us to 5. 1 2/4 and 1/8. So 2 7/8 should be half, if I'm doing my maths right. That's those two pieces. And then this one, and we're gonna need to ink the edges again so that all of the strips are inked along the edge. Oh, and while we've got this out, let's go ahead and cut this guy in half as well, because I just did one piece because I figured that should get us a piece long enough to serve as the flooring. All right, so let's grab our aged mahogany. And I probably should have said, as I'm like just jumping in here, that I did these pieces and I talked about that piece in a recent video called Christmas Prep Inky Backgrounds. So I'll leave a link to that video down below. Okay, no, that dauber has got too much red left on it. Oh, lumberjack plaid. Honestly, I think I need to pull out the brush we used and do it that way because it's not getting the same effect as everywhere else. So let's just grab a scrap piece of paper and do this. All right, let's start gluing our wallpaper down, and I'm kind of wondering, keep going back and forth over possibly doing like a torn edge on the wallpaper. Also kind of feel like I need to ink the background just to be on the safe side. All right. If we're going to do a curled up, like an edge like the paper's coming up a little bit. Well, let's see. Let's start by, let's just ink the whole background with some vintage photo. I can just ink the back of this because we don't want it to be white if we do the curling back bit. Let's start gluing down. Gonna use my Barely Arts glue mostly because I'm about in need of a refill on my art glitter glue. I don't know that it's got enough glue in it right now. I think I want to grab a little sanding disc and kind of rough it up a little bit. Brown Dauber and Vintage Photo it. And I think I need to go see what my dog's up to, because I'm hearing strange noises in the other room. I think he was just playing with his toy, so. All right, and then this guy, let's rough this corner up again too. And I'm going to cut a thin strip of white paper to serve as like a baseboard between the wall and the floor, because I think it just is a nice finishing touch and makes it look cleaner if you've got a little bit of baseboard overhanging the two spots. Apparently over here wants to be a rip in the wallpaper as well, which we're going to need to grab some ink and ink that. Although I'm going to wait a little while because there's wet gluiness. So we're just going to get a little bit of distress going on this as well by doing that. And that guy, that one goes less, probably about there. But we're going to pull the piece up and see, because we may need to pull it down a little bit more for it to actually show. All right. Let me go grab the pieces for the tree, and I can show you assembly of the tree, because I want to figure out where he's going so that we can then figure out the rest of the placement of stuff. Okay, so I've got all my pieces cut out, and I did decide that I wanted to make this a little wider at the bottom. So I cut out some extra of the bottom pieces and figured we could... Let's see. Let me figure out what I did here. All right. That goes on top of that piece, and it's got the little cutouts. Let's glue that together. And I created these inky papers. They were the cleanup papers when I did the Christmas prep where I dyed some trees, like the Tim Holtz woodland trees, or woodlot, or whatever they're called. The sisal trees. Right. Upside of art glitter of Barely Arts glue, you have some wiggle time to line things up. Downside is things can shift on you when you don't want them to, because you have wiggle time. All right, come on, scoot over. Come on. Did not get that lined up very well. This is what happens when I craft after work and try and film. Never goes right. All right, that's good enough. Now I've got 2 extra sets of bottom pieces. Let's pop out these bits to kind of bulk out our bottom layer. So let's glue this on here. Let's do a better job of it this time. then I figure we can just trim off any excess bits that we don't need or like over here. So we got that one, and then let's glue this guy on. All right, I think I like that. So we're gonna put the glue on here. Go like that. To lift the whole thing up. Put some glue on here and over here. Go like that. And then trim. I think if we follow this swoop kind of up that way, and then I can cut this piece off as excess over here. There's too much back here. I'm just gonna lob that off. And then over here, we just need to trim off this a little bit there, I think. And so it's a little bit fuller at the bottom and a little bit taller. And now we can just layer on the rest of the pieces. There we go. We've got our Christmas tree. And let's grab the frame. Just take a look. Oh, you know what? Actually, let's trim this off. And that. Not too worried about over here because it's not going to show. Oh yeah, that works. Oh, I like that. Okay. Glue it into place eventually. So the tree is gonna go there. I gotta get the little tree stand thingy for it. And then Santa is gonna go here. Kind of wondering, do I want to put the fireplace there? And put our little elf go. Then the elf can go kind of like that. I think I like that. I think what I need to do is die cut out the rest of the stuff for the tree. So I'm gonna go do that. And then I feel like it needs some stuff up on the wall, like up here. So I'm gonna figure out what I wanna do for that. And I'll cut the thin strip for here. Then I'll be back and we'll work on the fireplace. Okay, so I've gone ahead and done the die cutting and I've got a couple more wreaths to go on here. But we need to finish the fireplace first. So I'm gonna pull these guys off. Trying to think. The wreaths and the bigger stockings are from Festive Things, I think. I'll have to look it up. It's one of the ones that was a vault release this year. Or a re-release. Because the vault ones, they changed, but the re-releases are exactly the same. I don't know. Yeah. But it was part of this year's release. I've also decided I don't love this anymore since I wanted to put the garland up there. So we're just going to glue those bits down. Let's go ahead and do that now. Then we'll shift this out of the way and work on the fireplace. Try and get that piece finished. And that'll be covered by the fireplace, so I'm not worried about it. Alright, now I'm going to move this whole piece out of the way and hopefully not disturb things too much. We can work on our fireplace. So I've got that. I've got several many of the other pieces. I did not die cut out like these accent strip bits because there's so many itty bitty little pieces that I figured I was gonna end up losing them. So we'll do that after we ink this. Let's grab some scorched timber. And a brush. Scorched timber is very much a cool brown, so I want to warm this up a little bit. So I think I'm gonna do a little walnut stain to bring some more warmth into it. I think I want to come in with a little bit more scorched timber. All right, now there are accessory parts that go on that I've die cut. So we've got this piece that I die cut out of just some scraps left over from, I think like 2 years ago, I did a Halloween tab bound booklet, I think these were, and I die cut out the base pieces from some inky papers that I made. And so this is left over because I save all of those little bits because I'm insane. And then I did this piece and the scrap wasn't quite big enough. Should I put this on first? No, I guess it goes right there. And then I decided it was too light up top, so I die cut it out some extra pieces. What we're gonna do is, one, I'm gonna trim this at a better angle, and I'm gonna grab a dauber and just kind of ink the cut off edges so that they don't stand out as quite so white. And yeah, so we'll glue this piece down first. All right, now let's pull over my sidekick and we can die cut out all of the little accent pieces that go on here. And I am gonna use this piece. This was, I think, a cleanup sheet. My cutting mat for my sidekick's long enough, because if not, I'm gonna have to go cut this at my big die cutting machine. Yay, it's just long enough. Okay. right, now for the back of the fireplace, I'm going to grab a scratch piece of paper. And I'm going to grab my flames, which I cut out of white cardstock. And I'm going to grab, okay, let's figure out where we're going. And let's grab some mustard seed. Now I'm going to grab a smaller brush and grab a little spiced marmalade. Add a little orange to our flame. And then on this one, we're going to grab black soot and darken the edges. Let's glue this onto the back of here. Right, let's bring the whole piece back, and pretty much we're just gonna glue everything down. So I will probably speed this part up. Yeah, we got a whole bunch of stuff to glue in place. So that's what I'm gonna do now. So yeah. And these are the garlands from this Fireside 664193 that I did for the fireplace. I just cut it out a bunch of times to go across the top. And I cut the bows out, and I used papers from my stash of inky papers for that. And I'm gonna place this first one and kind of use it as a guide for the rest of them with regards to the frame. And then move the frame out of the way, I think. feel like the wreaths need a little something extra, so I'm just gonna add a little rustic wilderness to them. Kind of darken up the edges so they stand out more. Alright, I want to add some bling onto the garland. And so I've got some really old gems that we are going to glue on. And while they have adhesive on their backs, I am just removing the adhesive because it's not going to stay. I'm like, it's eventually going to fail. So might as well just take it off and glue them on. And then I'm going to do smaller green gems in the middle of the bows. Alright, there's one more thing I want to do. I have grabbed liquid pearls in ruby red, and I'm going to just add some berries to our wreaths. Just gonna tap the back a little to get them to flatten out a bit, so we don't have like the little Hershey Kiss look to them. Alright, I am going to set this aside somewhere safe to dry so I don't stick my fingers in the berries. And then when it's dry, we'll come back and take a closer look and put it in the frame. So yeah, I'll be back in a bit. Okay, so I realized when I dry fitted it back into the frame that a couple of the gems were way too high. So I pulled them off and we're just going to reattach them. All right, now the last step is to glue it into the frame. And I'm hoping my art glitter glue is going to work for this. I have a little glue seep. Ooh, that is not. Okay, I'm going to need to leave this set upside down with some weight on it till the glue dries completely. So I am going to do that, and then I'll come back and give you a close-up look of the project. All right, so here is the finished project, and I'm going to zoom you in so you can see the various details up close. So that's all for today. If you enjoyed this video, please do all the things that lets YouTube know you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave me a comment down below. Thanks for joining me, and happy crafting.